Guys, so this is my first Facebook Live. I had posted on my Instagram and on my Facebook, and I will be doing a Facebook Live. And my whole objective with this Facebook Live is I wanted to go over the different books that I'm reading and be able to go over a book a week. So that's the whole point of this. I want to get it to be able to review a book a week. If I'm not able to do that, then it'll be every 2 weeks. That's the goal. Hey Cynthia, hope you're doing well. So the book that I'll be reviewing today, actually I've had this book read all the way through for quite a while. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That's the book that I'll be going over. A little bit about me, if you guys don't know who I am. My name's Giselle. Hey, how you doing? So a little bit about me. I'm an artist and graphic designer. I've been doing graphic design for 10 years. And also Forex trader, so I trade in the foreign market as well. So like I said, if you guys can hear me, go ahead and comment in the comment bar, let me know. And I'm gonna be diving into the book pretty much. So like I said, this is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And in this book, it talks about 4 different topics that he discusses in this book thoroughly on how to develop your communication skills when it comes to talking to anybody and everybody, how you can communicate on an everyday basis with just strangers, using simple methods that he talks about in the book that you can use to your advantage if you choose to. So I'm just flipping through my notes right now, waiting for a couple more people to get online. A little bit of a background on this book. This book was written in 1936, so it's quite up there in age. And so the book is broken down into 4 parts. I'm going to try and go into it right now. So the first part of this book is basically going over the fundamental techniques of handling people. How do you handle people on an everyday basis? And that goes with not only how we interact, but our attitude towards them and being able to really just listen into every day of what they're talking about. So, for example, in this first part in the book, he talks about how when he was in Maine during the summer, he was going fishing, and at that time he was thinking in his head about what he wanted more so than how to be able to bait fish. So he was thinking that his favorite food was berries and creams and not really thinking about what the fish wanted. And then he realized that in order to get the fish, he needed to be able to get the fish what he wanted. And I think so often that's a perfect example of when we go into a conversation or we go into meeting somebody new, you're more likely, more than not, you're going to go into it more so what are you wanting from it, more so than what are they wanting from it. So you got to be able to step into their shoes and see from their perspective, when it's a customer, client, doesn't matter who it is, or just a random stranger, what are their wants and needs that you're trying to meet. So in this example in the book where he talks about, he using the example of he likes berries and creams as his favorite food, he needed to adjust his thinking and think more so on the scale of the fish. So that's a perfect example of stepping into the shoes of somebody else. So we can use that in marketing and business and anything like that. And just really identifying with people, getting into what are their wants and needs. And that's more so how we communicate with people and how people are able to like and trust us and be able to do business with us. So that's something that I wanted to cover there with that first part. A personal, an example being for example, let's say that you were a car salesman. One of my friends is a car salesman. I know him very well. His name is Alejandro. Just going to use you as an example. He's a car salesperson. And, with a profession like that, going to be a salesperson and you're selling these cars day in, day out to people that you don't even know, instead of thinking with the mindset of how many sales am I going to get for this day, you really got to evaluate it and to be able to step into every situation with the client and see what are their wants and what are their needs when it comes to the car and the brand. And is it a good fit? Because then again, like I said, it goes back to for people to trust, and be able to come back to you. So that's an example that ran through my mind. Especially since my friend Alejandro, he does car sales, and perfect example of being able to step into their shoes. when it comes to the client. And then also something else that I put into my notes for this was, it also reminds me of, I do a lot of personal development, and some quotation that ran through my mind was Lisa Nichols. She said, everything that you want is on the other side of service. So you have to be aware of that at all times. If you're not getting what you want out of life, more times out of not, it's because you're being selfish in your own needs and you're not really helping out the next man. And I always feel like karma, or whatever you want to call it, the universe, by you helping somebody else out, it's going to come back to you. So you got to be unselfish with what we offer into the marketplace, and being able to genuinely be connected to the people that we're trying to help. Let's see. Like, guys, literally, I wrote down a lot of notes. So I'm trying my best to get everything out, because I took a lot of notes in this book too. Like I said, it's definitely a recommendation for anybody that wants to read it. And really take your time to look through it and actually apply what he learned, what he is trying to teach you. Because I took a lot of notes. I think that's the best way you can learn, actually implement what you're reading. And we learn from trial and error as well. And then also another part of this first section is he talks about how to figure out a person's needs and eager for them to want it. So again, what are they wanting from this? And really stepping into their shoes. Sorry guys, I'm just reading real quick. Okay, so I'm going to dive right into the second part of this. So there are 4 sections of this book. I'm on part number 2. And part number 2 talks about 6 ways to be able to make somebody like you. And the example that was running through my mind is, so often, more than not, 90% of people are going through their life thinking that they're the star of their own movie. They're not thinking that everybody else has their own movie script that they're running. They think that they're the star of the show and that nobody else matters, which is the wrong way to go about it for living in life day to day. But most people, more than not, are selfish, unfortunately. So with that mindset, it's not really getting people to like you. So more often than not, how often is it that when we have a conversation with somebody, that more often if we talk about ourselves constantly, that potential relationship, that potential friendship hits a dead wall because we're talking about ourselves. A lot of times if we talk about ourselves constantly, you're going to hit a dead wall more times than not. And that's unfortunate. I mean, that is a fortunate fact. You have to kill to step into somebody else's shoes. So with this example of we are the stars to our movies, you have to be able to change that thinking. And so when you interact with somebody, what are they into? What made them who they are? What are the experiences that have shaped them? Things like that. What have they gone through that has been an altering point for them to transform? So all those things are key when it comes to getting to know somebody. Well, the next thing you have a conversation with somebody that's random, or a family member that you don't like, or somebody on the street, instead of talking about you, step into what is going on in their life. What are they like? Like I said, things that have transformed them. Why are they a certain way? I feel like, honestly, in my own life, I'm a huge observer. So more often than not, I'm being quiet, I'm observing, I'm doing the tone of voice, seeing from my perspective of how somebody's interacting. A perfect example in my own life, I had a friend a couple years ago in 2016. He introduced me to somebody, and I remember shaking his hand. I said, oh, hey, by the way, I'm Giselle. And then I went back to do what I was doing. Then I overheard him say that he was a graphic designer. Automatically turned back around, and I said, you're a graphic designer? He goes, yeah. I said, I'm a graphic designer too. So being able to connect in that way. So using the abilities that God gave us, like with our ears, that's the reason why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Just be listening most of the time, more so than speaking. So use it to your advantage when you're getting to know somebody. For that section, it talks about, it goes into more deeper, genuinely having an interest in other people. Have a genuine interest when it comes to other people. So that's real key. So think about that next time you have a new interaction with somebody. What are you getting from this? And pretty much like learn, what can you learn from the person next to you? A great example that comes to my mind again is when I was in high school, Mr. Newton was a teacher, a part of on campus, and he was the coordinator for ASB. And I remember him telling us an example for what people teach you. And he said to us that it's an example that I never forgot. He said that you guys know that I run ASB, and you know that I'm the coordinator. Well, there's this guy on campus, if you're familiar with him, his name is Chris, and Chris has an accent, and every day he would come into my office and he would say, hi, Mr. Newton, today's going to be sunny. It's going to be a sunny day. And, you know, he didn't need to tell me that. I could see it, but he would come in every day and sit down and have lunch with me and tell me the weather. So this happened for quite a few months, he said, and then after a while, one day Chris went back to his class after lunch, and one of the ASB students told Mr. Newton, she was like, how can you put up with that? He comes in every single day and he reports the weather. How does that not annoy you, pretty much? And Mr. Newton thought very quick on his feet, and I'm the same way. I think quick on my feet for responses. And he said, maybe he's trying to teach me patience. So that's interesting. So not only are we learning about people, but what are they teaching us in return? So having a genuine interest in somebody, and also what are they teaching you? So that's good to put in there as well. Another part of this part too, it talks about the importance of a smile. I'm very lyrical person. Something that comes to my mind when it comes to smiling is, for example, there's a lyric by Rascal Flatts in the song My Wish. I had to think about it. He said, if it's cold outside, show the world the warmth of your smile. More often than not, you are more likely to approach a person if they're smiling at you than if they're frowning at you. So just something to keep in mind. Another thing in this section it talks about is also being a good listener, which goes hand in hand with genuinely being interested in other people. You can't be genuinely interested in somebody if you're not really listening to their intent. I think, like, an example comes to mind is how often do we say, how was your weekend, but we don't really care because we're thinking about ourselves. So, like I said, really caring and actually listening to what they have to say. And also, the last thing of this section, it talks about how to make somebody feel important and being sincere. So making them feel important, being sincere all the way through during the conversation, not thinking about yourself, and, like I said, evaluating them as well. Perfect example I have here. I'm reading my notes again. Sorry for the noise, by the way. An example would be, for example, let's say that there's a clerk and they can lead the most interesting life whatsoever, but you don't know that because you're not asking the questions. Maybe they have taken some amazing hikes abroad. Maybe they are a great family person. Maybe they're a speaker. Whatever the case may be, but you don't know until you ask those questions. So that's something to keep in mind. Somebody could have the most mundane, simple job whatsoever, but if you're not asking those questions on their personal life, how are you going to really know who they really are? So that's something to keep in mind as well. So I am on to the third part. So this third part in the book, like I said, is divided up into 4 different sections. And in the third part, it talks about how to win friends in your way of thinking. And it talks about when you make a mistake, no matter what the setting is, to be able to admit your wrongs. I think so many times when we make a mistake, if somebody were to say, oh, you did this wrong, you're easy to defend yourself. But what if you were to be able to reverse that script, flip it around, and actually admit to it? The reason why we talk about this is because in the book it says how, like, for example, when you get into an argument, if you were to just not argue, like, for example, there's a quote that says, you do not have to attend every argument that you are invited to. So that works in this as well. That's something to keep in mind as well. Because usually, more often than not, if a third party were to look at 2 people that were arguing, they both look down. That's the best way to put it. You look from a third person's perspective. If I were to see 2 people arguing, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It just looks like a mess. So oftentimes than not, we mistake ourselves for entertaining the argument longer than it should, arguing over things that don't even matter, that don't even, half the time we argue over things that are just so small, it shouldn't even be an issue. So, like I said, with this example of an argument, the next time you find yourself in an argument, just walk away or say nothing. To the next day or something that where you can be able to have a general conversation about the discussion as well. That's something to keep in mind. But not every argument needs your attendance. It really doesn't. Your argument, I've learned that in my own life, silence is sometimes the best answer when it comes to an argument. I've used it to my advantage, and then the other person ends up apologizing. So that's a little bit of a tip there. Sometimes if you're being quiet is sometimes the best way. And like I said, going back to owning your mistake. And then, like for example, when owning to your mistake, let's say, like I used to work at Hobby Lobby. Let's say, for example, that when I was working there, let's say that I accidentally gave somebody $10 over the change that I was supposed to give them, and the manager pulls me into his office and says, "Well, you've never done this before, but you gave somebody an extra $10." By owning up to it, by me saying, "Yes, I did. I did. I'm sorry. I completely made a big mistake. You should fire me right now." By agreeing with them, they're more likely to be on your defense. So that's what Dale Carnegie talks about in this book. By agreeing with the person that's trying to oppose you, of saying like, "Well, you did this wrong and you did that wrong." By agreeing with the person that told you that you did them wrong, you're automatically giving them the benefit to defend you, because you're not defending yourself. So often when somebody tells us, "Oh, you did this wrong," and you did this horrible thing wrong, and whatever, like a parent to a child. If you agree, then they're more likely to come to your defense. So that's a good mechanism to use, again, to avoid an argument and for them to come pretty much to your rescue. So I'm on the fourth section, number 4. And it says, for this section, it talks about how to change people without giving off or causing resentment. So an example that I wrote down is, say for example that a dad is an alcoholic and he has a son and wants to follow in his footsteps because he sees this on a day-to-day basis that his father is doing alcohol, so it must feel right that I can drink too because my dad drinks. So when the dad sees that his son wants to follow in his footsteps, instead of criticizing him and telling him pretty much the reasons not to, instead of criticizing and telling his son not to do it, and all the reasons he shouldn't start. Yeah, instead of criticizing, instead what you want to do is you want to talk about all the mistakes that it caused. So like for him being an alcoholic, instead of criticizing his son for wanting to take that step, instead reverted to saying, "Well, because I'm an alcoholic, I've made all these mistakes. Look what it caused me. It's caused me depression. It's caused me to lose relationships," whatever the case may be. So, like I said, switching it. Instead of criticizing, you want to instead take that and talk about all the mistakes that have come from that. Same thing with a smoker. I have lung cancer because of me smoking. You don't want to end up like me and make the same mistake that I made. So going about it instead of criticizing them, and then the other person is able to empathize with you better, and then they're able to see the reasons why not to start smoking or not to start drinking or whatever the case may be. So really taking it from that perspective. But some other points in this book that I want to go over. Write down some notes. That pretty much was like an overview, a very quick overview to the best of my knowledge of the 4 points, but I'm trying to flip through here real quick. See what I emphasize on. It's like I literally took so many notes. Yeah, it says by criticizing others, it also causes resentment. So, like I said, flipping that whole script around. again, like I said, if anybody that is wanting to learn more about becoming a leader or communication skills or whatever the case may be, that want to grow in your own life and in your own endeavors, or in the business that you're in, if you want to become a better leader, if you want to become a better speaker, or using those communication skills, definitely would recommend getting this book. Like I said, just really analyze it, go over it, and don't know if anybody has asked any questions or anything. A lot of people have joined. It's been years since I read that book. Thanks for the refresher. I guess my question to you, Martin, if you're still online, if you're still watching this, what are your impressions of the book? I love the lesson of the weather and patience. Yeah, that one always stuck out to me. It's been a example to me that I'll always use. So that was one that came to my mind. So like I said, people, what are they teaching on a daily basis? It's even simple things like, for example, if I overhear a conversation in my mind, I think it's geared towards me. What is the lesson that I'm hearing? So, that's something to take into consideration with the conversations that you have every single day. Again, not looking for your needs and your wants, but more so on the basis of what are the wants and needs of the other person. So that's something to consider. That's pretty much summary of the whole book to the best of what I can get out there. And I can't believe we're already at 21 minutes. Talk about the story for sure. Anyways, I appreciate everybody who was able to tune in. If you guys are able to see this on the replay, definitely replay and let me know in the comment bar. And also let me know if you have any other favorite parts of this that you liked, anything that you guys want me to improve on. Again, I'll be doing this. My goal is, like I said, every week, if not every 2 weeks, to cover a new book. So let me know. And I will see you guys next week. Thanks so much for tuning in.